Hey guys, Chris here. So one question that I saw posted today really drew my attention, and I thought I'd make a video in office hours to answer it a little more thoroughly. So let me read it to you first. So the welcome to 1 month Rails text disappeared. Okay, so there's some text that disappeared. I've checked the video twice and I can't find my mistake. Do I have to rewatch all the videos to fix this? This is from Etienne. So clearly some text has disappeared and he's looking through the videos to see the mistake. And at this point he's given up and said, hey, should I rewatch all the videos? So no, Etienne, you don't watch all the videos again. I know that would seem like logical, but what we want to do is we want to learn to debug our code through some problem solving techniques so that we can go through and use these after 1 month Rails and in our own projects. So going through the videos again, while that seems kind of likely, I want to show you how to use some better techniques. In this video that I made for you, I'm going to give you 4 techniques that you can use to problem solve your code really in any situation. So take a look and hopefully this helps answer your question. So this is what the page should look like. Etienne's page should have welcome, it should have 1 month Rails, this button. This is pretty standard. But the problem and the image that he sent me is that piece there is missing, right? And he wants to know where did it go, obviously. But this is what it should look like. Well, now the first thing that I would do is if I saw something was missing on the page, my first instinct is just look to make sure that there's an equal amount of opening and closing HTML tags, right? So for example, if I do view page source, I can see all of the HTML tags that are making up that page. And it's pretty common that if you had like 1 or 2 extra div tags, like opening but don't close, that you might have that problem, right? So I might just want to check, are there the same amount of opening and closing div tags? Kind of like a quick way to do this little test might be to just open it up in Sublime. Just save this on my desktop. Obviously, if you're in your Rails project, you can just go right to that HTML, but I'm just using the example here because it's quicker. But you can see I'm just going to go to my project, and I like to go and do opening div, right? So search for opening div. All I did was I did a find, right? I did a find or Command F here. And you'll see that I have 15 matches, right? So there's 15 opening divs. Okay, are there also 15 closing divs? Okay, well there's 15 matches, right? So it found number 13 of 15, but there's 15 of each. So that's not the problem. That's a quick little way that I can just check to make sure that there's the same amount of opening p tags, 16, as closing p tags. So a little bit of troubleshooting right there. All right, so my first hypothesis that maybe there were some extra HTML tags, right, didn't prove to be the right one. So I'm going to need to go a little bit deeper. It's not just an HTML problem. Okay, let's move on. I can close this out. So what I'm going to do is look at Etienne's GitHub page. He shared the link with me, and now I can come here and take a look at his Rails code. So it's easy enough where I can just go around and click into these and look at the code, right? But that's probably not going to be the most efficient way to debug this. So I think the best way is to download it, right? I could click download, but I'm going to clone it, which is the same as downloading. But if I do git clone, let me make sure I'm on my desktop first. ls, okay, cd desktop. I'm on my desktop. If I do git clone and then this address that I copied from here, you'll see that it will download it. But when I go inside, I'll also be able to see my git status, or rather see Etienne's git status of all the things that he's done in the past. So the little git log, I have to go into the directory. So now I'm in the directory. And if I do git log, I can see all of the things that he added to it and all his little updates and stuff like that. So that's pretty awesome. So I'm just going to press escape and then do Q, get out of there, and then Command K to just clear that so I can clean it up. Okay, so I have his project, it's here, let's run it and take a look at the code. When I download somebody else's project, I always want to do bundle install to make sure that if he has any gems or anything he's using, any dependencies, that I can check that I have them on my computer, right? So bundle install, it's going to check, does everything that he's using, do I have it also on my computer? And something failed, right? We have this red, we have this ugly orange, something's bad. All right, so our first thing we're going to debug. So what I generally like to do is just go and say, hey, when is the first time that I saw this error? So it looks like everything was fine here, all this green, until this line here. So what's the last thing that I did? Well, installing PG, which stands for Postgres, right? So during installing Postgres, something failed, blah, 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 blah. So what I would do is copy this line and I would just Google it. So see what we find. And I'm going to put that in there. And just do a Google search. All right, a lot of other people have this problem apparently. StackOverflow.com, probably one of the best sites that you're going to find for debugging, right? You can see a lot of these are Stack Overflow. Also GitHub's pretty good, but I'm going to always start with Stack Overflow. So let's just open up. I'll hold down Command and click, so it opens it up in another window. And we have this here. Let's see what it says. All right, this is the question or the problem. I generally don't read all this. I just want to see, did someone answer it first? All right, someone did answer it, and so it says, it looks like you don't have Postgres installed. Try using Postgres app. Ah, true. I don't think I have Postgres installed on this machine I'm on, so maybe there's an error with that. So what can I do? Well, I can install Postgres. I think I'm going to do something really simple and kind of hacky, though, just to kind of get rid of this error so I get to Etienne's problem. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open this up, OM Rails in Sublime by dragging it here. And it opens up and I can see all the files. I know that if I were to keep reading this and doing some searches, that eventually it may be the problem that this is getting in the way, this gem PG. Let me just comment this out and save it and come back here and try to run bundle install again, because I don't actually need to run this for it to work locally. It looks like everything succeeded if I just ignore that. So to be honest, I'm not sure why that's erroring, but I can come back to that as another problem. I just kind of want to move on. Everything installed, we're good to go. I'm going to do Rails server now to take a look at this project. So Rails server, I can close my support questions. Problem number 1 debugged. It is running the server on this port, which you know means localhost, right? So of course I could just do this and see the project. Ooh, and we have another error, right? And again, 000 is the same as localhost, which you probably know, but just to show it like you're used to seeing it. So just to refresh the same page. And another error, right? So this is kind of annoying, right? Because now you're like, wow, we just tried to solve one error and all these other errors are in our way, which is great for a lesson on debugging, right? And this is something that I think any developer, usually you find yourself dealing with. You get error after error and you're putting out lots of fires to try to solve the bigger problem. The bigger problem being that the homepage is broken. But anyway, so here we are, I have another error. So could not find the table pins. All right, so what do you think could be the error here? Could not find table pins. Well, if you think about it, there's a problem with the database probably. The database that I have locally here isn't matching what is in the code here. So what we want to do, and I'm just going to press Command T, that only works on the Mac, so I can open up another terminal window because I can't, the server's running here, I can't code here. But if I open up another window, then I can, let me make sure I'm in my project. I am. We want to run rake db migrate. And this will take Etienne's migrations, which creates the database, and create a version of the database on my computer. And it looks like we have another error, right? So it looks like it was working and working and working and working. And then, again, we see all this horribleness. And then we can see an error recurred. So this, some problem here, and all later migrations were canceled. Right, so what's this problem? Well, I might go look now at the migrations, right? So, let me just kind of step out of this for a second. The point is that like, we're just locating the error and then either doing a Google search or relying on our experience to try to solve it. When I see that there's an error with the migration, it makes me go, I have experience and I know that in the database, there's something called migrations, right? And each one of these adds tables to our database, right? So we created all of these, or Etienne did. And so what I can do is I can say, I can look at these and start poking around. And I just notice here that he has what seems to be 2 of the same migrations. Maybe there's some conflict. I'm not really sure, but this seems to be problematic to me, and it could be why we have this error here. So duplicate column name, right? And he's adding. So my first inclination is if there's duplicate column name, I'm going to delete one of these. And now we only have 1. And I'm going to come back and run the same thing that I just ran, the rake db migrate, right? So let's see if the database populates now. Oh, looks like it worked, and I got my prompt again. So let's see if that solved our problem. Could not find pin stable. Refresh. And now the app's working. And this is the problem that Etienne originally asked. That main welcome to 1 month Rails is missing. So how do we solve that? How do we get this back? All right, so now we're finally at the problem that we came to solve. I went through all that to show you that's pretty common that you're going to be putting out a lot of fires as you're solving a bigger problem. But now let's focus on this main problem because finally we're here. I know that the localhost page here is going to be the index, right? The index is always the home page of our project. So I just went into app views, right? Pins, index to see that main page. If I didn't know that, what could you do? Well, you could go to routes, right? And you can see that the routes, the root, the main page is going to pins index. So that's another hint, right, at what the home page is going to be. And so we go to pins index here. And this is the pins. This is the render. So I know that the problem is probably here in this home page, and we have this partial here, right? There it is. This is the stuff that's missing. So my first question might be, why is this stuff missing? So we have this unless statement here. I might wonder, what if I put some text here, right? Like test, like would this show up? Like, is the problem in this block of code that it's not showing up, or is it outside here? So I'm going to write test here and see if that shows up. Let's see. Does that show up? Refresh. And nothing happens. Okay. So I know that this partial is pulling in that code. What if I put something before here and after? Is this page, this whole page working, or is the problem just in here? Let's take a look. I'm going to refresh. Okay, that worked. Okay, so that really narrowed down the problem. Before and after works, but the thing in between it, this isn't working. So really quickly, I've kind of narrowed down where the problem is. So it's either with this line of code or somewhere in here. But I know it's not in here because even this isn't showing up. Like the most basic thing isn't showing up. So I know that there's a problem with this line of code. And maybe now you notice, what's the problem with this line of code? Well, you could just look at this example here, but when you do render, you want to do the equals, because the equal is going to print what's there. And if I refresh this, boom, there it is. Then we can see it. So that was the problem. So in response to Etienne's question, do I need to go back and watch all the videos? No, the videos are there to help you, understand the lesson and kind of get the context of building it. And then after there, you have to go and use Google, use Stack Overflow, and use your experience to take each of these problems step by step. Right? I probably solved like 4 problems in this lesson trying to solve one, but that's how you get to solve the bigger problems. And so good luck in solving, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys are building.